They hail from around the globe, and though separated by oceans, they gather in the virtual world for reasons as varied as their locales. Whether it's a defending champion looking to retain his title, a new and eager hopeful striving for recognition, or a legend prepared to recapture past glory, in the end, the one goal they all share is to win. But when naming a victor, only one driver's name can be etched into the record books. You're watching the Heusinkveld MX-5 World Tour.
Right now in the United States, the home base for this broadcasting company, the country is celebrating a 4-day holiday known as Thanksgiving. And while the bald eagle is the national emblem, it was founding father Ben Franklin that pushed to have the turkey fill that role. Franklin argued, although a little vain and silly, a turkey is a bird of courage and would not hesitate to defend its position against an invader. Those words easily describe 3-time champion and current points leader Sonny Kanchan. Now well into the back half of the season, Kanchan will not hesitate to defend his point lead as he is in position to become this series' first 4-time champion. And what better place to hold a race on this great American holiday than Canada? Yes, the broadcast intro is convoluted, but don't let that scare you away because things will make much more sense once the racing begins at Motorsports for round 8 of the Heusinkveld MX-5 World Tour, and you can see all the action from squash soup to pumpkin pie live as it happens right here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Gobble gobble, and welcome to another GSRC broadcast. Proud American Bill Stoops on, sharing the microphone to bring you our bird's eye view with the Netherlands' own Johan van de Belt, whose national bird is the black-tailed godwit, one of the only birds not extinct that would lose a beauty contest to the turkey. Joe Peak has director duties, armed with cameras locked and loaded by Dougie Beard. Johan, after the formulated configuration of Daytona, it's good to get on a track that feels like it's over the bridge and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. Tell us about today's venue.
Yeah, today we visit Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, more commonly known as Motorsports. This circuit was opened in 1961 and was the second purpose-built racetrack in Canada. Now a little bit of trivia, the second race on this track saw a very famous name on the grid, Sir Sterling Moss. The multiple times Formula 1 winner won that race and was very enthusiastic about the layout, but he recommended one change. The original carousel hairpin leading onto the back straight should be changed for a double right-hander, he reckoned, as that would test the driving skill of drivers and would be more interesting racing for the spectators to watch. The organizers listened and dedicated the corner after him, Moss Corner. Now in the race today we don't see the cars that drove the track then, we see Mazda MX-5s, and until this point in the season, almost each race has seen big packs of cars drafting together towards the end of the race. In Motorsport, the effect of drafting is a little bit less strong, however, than we've seen so far. This 3.9 kilometer track is quite technical, with several high-speed corners breaking up the airflow behind the cars more. Each lap will be 90 seconds of driving on the edge, however, and to see how that looks like from onboard the Mazda MX-5, let's hop on board our GSRC machine for a lap around Motorsport.
Alright, we're in the GSRC MX-5, so let's do a lap around Motorsport. Turn 1 doesn't require any braking, just a lift on entry and then you're feathering your way around it. Don't be afraid to really mount the inside curve, but quickly you'll have to switch sides for Clayton. Incredibly, you do very little braking as you come over the blind crest of this nefarious corner. Just like most other cars, you're going to double apex it and you should be able to mash the power down about halfway through. Once again, cross the track, and up next is Quebec. Even though this corner opens up on the exit, you don't want to apex it too early. It is definitely possible to get on the gas too soon, and that'll hurt a lot because the cars behind you will be quickly on top of you. Turn 4 is flat out, but try to swing it in from the outside to give yourself a straighter braking zone into Moss. Don't be afraid to get a little deep because the compression really helps the car grip. But despite the heavy braking, it's not often that you see passes into here. It's the exit that really makes the difference because now we begin the long climb up the Andretti Straight. Hesitate to the power out of there and you're just going to get mobbed by everyone who didn't. The draft affects the MX-5 in a big way, so most drivers will try to set themselves up to slingshot past on the way to the S's. I can't stress enough how fast this track is and how few heavy braking zones exist in the Little Miata. You're not going lower than 4th gear over the majority of the lap. Now comes turn 8. This is another one where you're not braking but just letting the car bleed off speed and even getting back to the power at the second apex. Finally, you'll use the left pedal here in a 9. Hug the inside and don't be afraid of the curbs. At last there's White's Corner where you can really let it track out all the way on the exit. But hopefully you've now finished a lap around Mosport.
Joe Peak talking and taking us around another racetrack, this time Mosport. Now, before we look at the points, I need to explain something first. We talked about the Thanksgiving holiday most Americans celebrate by stuffing themselves mercilessly with turkey, cranberry sauce, and pie. Because the MWT scorekeepers are from America and turkey meat is laden with tryptophan, an amino acid that makes you sleepy, apparently the scorekeepers did not wake up to update the points for this round. And when the GSRC stat boys Simon and Poindexter stole the graphic department, there would be no need for a points overlay. Well, Andy and Jackson, the graphic guys, took that opportunity to show what they can do. So, for the first time in 16 seasons, the points will be represented in emojis. Let's look at those now. Sonny Catch Me If You Can. Well, he has been on good behavior the entire season. Things have gone sideways for Robert Hartley. Love him or hate him, Marcelo Pajan has been exciting. Who is this guy? Well, he's Stellan Chepelevsky. We know him as Cheppy. He's becoming a well-known name. And Travis Swenke is looking up at the 4 drivers above him. So there you have what we think are the driver standings. We have no AM standings for you because the emojis can only take you so far. So let's go right to the race details. Johan?
Yeah, we are in season 16 of the MWT Championship. This is round 8 of our 11-round season at Mosport. 11 rounds, that means that the season finale is coming up. A very important race where there's double distance and double points to be won. There are no drop races, however, in this championship, so everything that happens on track matters. However, as you can see behind it, there are free no-show compensation. That means that if a driver misses a race, he or she is compensated with a percentage of that driver's average race finish. So it's not entirely a drop week, it's not as good, but it still rewards you if you cannot make a week because it's Thanksgiving, for example. The setups are open. Drivers have to make 1 pit stops today in this 29 race around this Canadian track, and there's no incident limit, but there are points for grab at the end of the season. So going off the track to maybe take a little bit more momentum here around Mosport, that's not entirely what you want because they can cost you quite a few points once the season is over.
Johan, you talked about the no-show compensation, and thank goodness for that because there's a lot of drivers going to be taking advantage of that today. Small field.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of people had some turkey today and are maybe sleeping off that full belly at this point of of the day. Well, luckily there are still some really good drivers around, including Sonny Kenshin. Sonny Kenshin is currently sitting on pole position as qualifying is underway for almost 4 of the 10 minutes at this moment. Sonny Kenshin has set one of his 2 time laps. It was a 1:30.8. He was only half a tenth slower than he was in practice, so that's already almost immediately as quick as he was in practice. Currently he's sitting 4 tenths dry to P2 currently on the grid, which is very funnily an amateur driver, Jordi Fike, driving very quick in his MX-5 today and putting in P2 so far.
Well, the drivers who did decide to come will all have to race in the same weather. Let's take a look at that. Johan, how's it feel?
Well, looking at the weather, it is today 21 degrees ambient temperature, 23 degrees track temperature. You can see the Fahrenheit calculations on screen at the moment, and mostly cloudy weather conditions. There's not very warm, it's quite cool temperatures here, so that might help the drivers a little bit. Looking at the window, it's 9 kilometers an hour, 6 miles per hour. That's, I would say, almost medium, light to medium, so that actually might help the draft a little bit on that back straight, or maybe catch some drivers unaware in these fast and flowing corners.
With a small field, I think it's a good time to take the opportunity to talk about the scoring system for races here. It's a rationed out system. You score 100 points for the win. You score 25 for last place, no matter how big the field is, and then they spread out the points in between. So those guys at the back do not benefit. If you're going to finish 10th today, you're still going to get scored pretty low as this field is so small. There, we're looking at Gene Fittis racing out of New Zealand.
Yeah, Gene Fittis has set P2. He is exactly 1/10 and 1,000 of a second slower than Sonny Kenshin at this moment, but he still is on his last final lap. Let's follow him. But just what you mentioned, Bill, that's true. Like the point for the amount of points for the winner and for the person in last place, they are basically set in stone. But that means that the gaps between the drivers at the race today are very big, so winning even one position during the race, that will gain you a lot more extra points than normally. Gene Fittis comes over the start-finish line with a 1:38.84. He goes a little bit quicker, but not quick enough to beat Sonny Kenshin's pole time. He's currently sitting 0.08 of a second behind Kenshin.
If you want a good way to figure out how to calculate that, if you're a back marker, just instead of figuring out how far away you are from the front, figure out how far you are above the last place driver, and that's a good idea how many points you're going to get. You know, we have some new drivers here today. Enzo Canta is coming in. The Italian driver has been brought over by Marcelo Pujan. Good to see him racing. We've seen him race in a few other events.
Yeah, and another driver that we see new here is Ryan G. Walker. I think that's actually the driver you see on screen at the moment. Yeah, the new G car. He's actually going in the pits. Ryan has set both his qualifying times. So 1:31.2 is his quickest one. With that, he's sitting at P6 at Another driver that's going quick around is Robert Hartley. That's one of the drivers that actually showed up a little bit late in the session, Bill. But it's good to see Robert Hartley being here, sleeping off the turkey that he probably ate in Thanksgiving. And he's actually starting with his first qualifying lap, I think, now. So he comes over start-finish line with only 3 minutes left. He has just enough time, I reckon, to put in 2 qualifying laps.
That changes things a lot, as I was disappointed to see that Hartley wasn't here. And yes, he didn't put in a practice time at all, and he's yet to put in a qualifying lap. So he definitely is sneaking in right before the deadline. Robert sits second in the points and has still a legitimate chance to catch Sonny and deny Sonny that 4th championship. Fortunately, with a small field, I don't expect this to spread out too much. This should be... What do you think? We got pretty much a draft track here, right? Still, even though there are some twisty sections?
I mean, the thing is a lot of the previous tracks that we had this season, we had, for example, Daytona. Let's take that as an example. There's a really big part of the track where you can drive in parks side by side and still almost NASCAR-like drive next to each other. Because this track is so flowing with a lot of fast corners going left, right, it is much more difficult. You have to go single file a lot earlier. Because there's only one really long draft section, the back straight, there's not really a lot of opportunity for packs to regroup after those twisty sections are over. So I think that in this track, more than other tracks that we've seen this season, it is more the driver's skill that will come forward a little bit. How good are you? How quick are you? And how quick are you compared to the other drivers in able to really break that gap and break the draft? I think that will be a little bit more evident here compared to, for example, Daytona last week.
Hartley comes across and boom! How about second spot? So that's close enough to get in the draft of Sonny Kenshin. And what you just talked about there, Johan, for me, that makes me feel good because I'd like to see it in the hands of the drivers a little bit more than some of these big draft tracks make it. So Kenshin and Hartley up front, Fittis right behind him, Hampson in the mix as well. Stefan Overgaard in 5th. He was so close to picking up that win at Daytona.
He was so close, but here at Motorsport, everything is to play for. There's a tricky track, also in the MX-5. And with P5, he doesn't start too far away from the lead drivers. Still, you actually mentioned Kenshin, Hartley, and Fittis are now currently 1, 2, and 3 in qualifying. They're only separated by 0.08 of a second, less even. So the gap between those first few places is extremely small. So that promises very good racing here in Canada.
They all put in 1:30s. Kenshin's was an 8.0. Hartley was an 8.6, and Fittis was a 0.88. My gosh. Let's go ahead as we're looking there at Robert Hartley, trying to see if he can better his time. And it's good that Robert here. That should keep it very, very interesting up at the front. As he comes around, Hartley coming across the line right now. Does he better his time, or is he going to be in second? He does indeed, as we have a new pole sitter. And when it's time to go racing, what you want to do is go to Heusinkveld offers a broad array of products and services, including advanced vehicle simulation software and hardware, and sponsors practically every major team in sim racing today. If you're looking for an edge in racing, get in touch today at Heusinkveld.com. And now let's give you the Heusinkveld starting grid. We'll take it two at a time since the field is small. Robert Hartley, we saw him get the pole. Sonny Kenshin now is going to be outside of row 1. Johan?
Gene Fitter starts in the top 3 and he's being flanked by David Hampson.
Stefan Overgaard was third at Daytona, hopes to get a win here today. He's going to be inside of Jordy Fike.
Ryan G. Walker starts his debut race in P7 and behind him is Enzo Canta.
Base 8 hammer Tom Ratchey back in 9th. He's going to be flanked by Jean-Frank Pinault.
There's a bunch of amateur drivers. Robert Wielinga starts P2 in the class and in P12 overall it's Derek Holland.
In the Baker's Dozen position, it is Tripp Smith. And then, of course, a lot of good old-timers back here. He's going to be right next to Jerome Ursum. The last car out there, if he decides to race Dexter Castro, will be car number 15. Not sure if Dexter's actually going to take the grid. We have 15 names on the entry list, 14 put in qualifying times. All right, it is round number 8. We are in Canada. We expect one pit stop, and there you can see the entire field. The field is small, but I think the action is going to be big. You can hear the engine start to harmonize. The lights are up. You know what to do. Gather up the chickens, take cover behind the cows, because the horses are out of the barn. Robert Hartley got the pole, and he has the lead ahead of Sonny Kenshin. Gene Fittis in third. David Hampson and Stefan Overgaard rounding out the top 5.
Just outside the top 5 it was Jordy Fike with probably one of the worst starts in the field. He immediately lost the position to Ryan G. Walker, who had a good start and got a P6 position away from Jordy.
Nevertheless, Fike, your top amateur, and he's got a lot of pros as a cushion before he gets back to Robert Wielinga back there in 11th position. A lot of amateurs back in 11th, 12th, 13th, having fun.
We see still a few pro drivers between Jordy Fike and the rest of the pro drivers. They will try to get by him as soon as possible as they go to Moss Corner for the first time. David Hampson getting all out of shape there in the braking. Loses immediately connection with Gene Fittis and puts himself almost a victim to Stefan Overgaard, who's also getting bunched up with all the drivers behind him there. Robert Hartley in the front though has to do some defensive driving towards Sonny Kenshin. He's hugging the inside completely, Bill.
Overgaard had to lift to stay out of the trunk, and now here comes a pass up front. Hartley leaves the inside open. Sonny Kenshin says thank you very much, and he gets that done as they head up to the S's.
Behind him, Enzo Canta did get by Jordy Fike. Ryan G. Walker also lost 2 positions. Ryan G. Walker loses 2 positions in one straight. Ooh, that's Enzo Canta going very wide through the last corner, giving an opportunity to Jordy Fike to get side by side there. Over the start-finish line, he can it, but Enzo Canta has to take the outside line now. Does that give an opportunity? Side by side, the outside line had more momentum. He gets a position from Jordy Fike immediately. He's back to P6.
Something to keep in mind. Look at that outside line work there as Canta holds on to 6th position. I thought Fike had that one to himself as he sits back there in 7th ahead of Ryan Walker. Those guys doing their best to hang on to the back of Overgaard. Meanwhile, there is a pass for 3rd position now, and that is Fittis. I guess really for 2nd as he goes around Hartley. Hartley now, our pole sitter, back to 3rd.
Yeah, it almost seems like Robert Hartley went a little bit too early on frontal in Quebec corner. They caught him out and gave Gene Fittis the opportunity to get that pass and get that P2 position.
Our leader, Sonny Catch Me If You Can't, and up in front trying to live up to his nickname now as they head down into 8th, trying to open up a little bit of a gap. He's got just over half a second on Fittis, but Fittis is in the tow. Let's see if the New Zealand driver can run down the Australian. Hartley watching on. Hampson and Overgaard sitting back in 4th and 5th, watching the show.
In the backfield, we don't have to go to that, but Tom Ratchy got another position back. He passed Jean-François Penoy, he defended a move from Jean-François Penoy, so he stays in P9.
They cross the start-finish line now, working lap number 3. Kanchan had himself about a half-second lead on Fittest. Fittest trying to hang with him. The top 5 looking to distance themselves from the rest of the field. Yep, it is Enzo Canada who's beginning to lose touch with Overgaard.
And funny to see that the draft is working though, because currently the quickest driver in the field is David Hampson in P4. He's around a 10th quicker than, 3/10 quicker than Sonny Kanchan was last time, who goes very wide there in Quebec corner. All the drivers have to follow him in that wide outside line. But it seems like the drivers in P4 and P5 are keeping up quite easily with the rest of the field now.
They head down into Moss. Very important to get a good drive off of that final corner. 7 really isn't much of a corner in these cars. You're still pretty full speed, but boy, if you get a bad exit out of Moss, you pay for it for a long time. Let's see what type of run. Look at this. Here comes Hartley. Does Hartley want something? Nope. I think those top 5 are kind of happy. Kind of what happens in these races sometimes, Johan. They just, all right, there's 5 of us. Let's just go.
And Gene Fittest takes a little look on the outside though, Sonny Kanchan, but he breaks a little bit earlier and allows Kanchan to take back the racing line there through the final SS section. Now Enzo Kanta, I'm actually worried. I'm actually curious if these drivers opt to not really overtake each other on that long back straight. Will that allow Enzo Kanta to close the gap and make it a 6-car battle for the lead? We have to keep an eye on that. This time around, Enzo Kanta did a 130.6, while Sonny Kanchan did a 130.9. So Enzo Kanta is closing the gap to the rest of the group. So it seems like they have to find something to really keep it a 5-car battle if they don't want Enzo Kanta to close the gap.
That interval between Overgaard in 5th and Kanta in 6th, 1.2 seconds. We'll mind that one. Kanta beginning to distance himself a little bit from the Sheriff, Jordi Fike, back in 7th now. So the Italian driver may have something for these guys.
Apologies, yeah, I want to say great driving from Jordi Fike until now. He, of course, was the only amateur driver who was, I saw one of the drivers mentioned after qualifying, lost in the standings because he was the only amateur driving swimming in the field of pro drivers around him. But he's holding steady now. Look at him, he's battling Ryan G. Walker behind him. I think, though, he might get overtaken here on the exit of Moss Corner. Ryan was a little bit quicker and seems to have more momentum here. But he's still in front of Tom Ratchy, he's still in front of Jean-François Penoy, and also the gap between Jordi and Robert Wieninga at the moment is quite large, almost more than 3 seconds. So Jordi having a really good run here at Motorsports so far.
Ryan Walker making his series debut. The committee has decided to classify him as a pro driver. Sitting back there behind Fike. Also in the mix, looking on. Talk about a veteran. Well, there's Tom Ratchy with 140 plus starts under his belt. Great battle going on for 7th though. Fike, Walker, and Ratchy coming at you.
Yeah, and I mentioned that these drivers are fighting quite hard and Enzo Kanta is closing the gap. Well, Enzo Kanta last time around was quicker than any of the top 5 drivers, so the Italian is really making giant leaps at the moment.
Yeah.
And the gap between him and Stefan Overgaard is just a few tenths of a second.
I think that's somebody to keep an eye on here when this race gets into the closing stages. He was able to run down that group. He left Fike behind and just did it on his own. So now the 5-car train is a 6-car train, as Enzo is definitely the caboose.
Jordi Fike actually is still in front of Ryan Walker. Last time around he just hugged the inside line towards the SS on the straightaway, and Ryan, even though he had such a great run out of Moss, he couldn't find a way past over the in the back straight. So it's almost like Jordi Fike is doing a very good job himself, but he's holding up maybe other pro drivers like Ryan Walker at this point of the race, and Ryan Walker is just losing connection with the top 6 group.
The front 6 pretty much all staying on the train track right now. I don't think there's going to be a pass, and then Gene Fittest doing what he does, just kind of peeking in there. The real action is back there with Fike and Walker.
We can maybe also go back a little bit to a battle between Jeroen Oersum and Derek Holland are going side by side. They were almost free wide at the beginning of Moss Straight. Now side by side through the SF, Derek Holland tries to make it a 2-for-1. He is now battling with Robert Wieninga. Still side by side. There is some really good battling here in the amateur category.
This is fun.
Yeah, and it's actually for P2 in the class, of course, as well. So there's absolutely something to play for. Robert Wielinga wins that battle in the SS. He stays in front while they go single file again, but heavy battling going on here in the back of the field as well.
Wielinga, and then that is Holland Ursum looking to make a move on that one. Watching the whole thing happen back there. And you're in car number 28. Color is, I'm going to call that Sex Panther Red back there in 14th position. That is Trip Smith.
Beautiful color. I totally agree with you. Well, Trip Smith is actually having a perfect popcorn position there in his red car, because he can see these three cars battling very, very hard. And if only one mistake happens, he can win several places. He's really waiting for something to happen there.
There's Trip. See him last in line. A little bit of contact.
Derek Holland there getting the worst of that battle. It allows Jeroen Ursum to immediately get a position by. And like I said, Trip Smith. He's eating his popcorn and he's now on the inside of Derek Holland. He gets away that P13 position.
Nothing going on in the front six. The action all back here with this group. And I can report that Walker was finally able to get around Fike out of Moss on the way into 8. So not sure. I think maybe we can take a look at Ryan. I think Ryan now is going somewhere. As Jody's having a hard time staying with him. Whoa, Tommy.
Tom Ratchet tried to make it a 2-for-1, but he couldn't find his way by. And almost like he was overdriving a little bit in that SS section. He went completely off the track through White's corner. But that's actually not a corner that you want to go over the grass, because it's very easy to lose it there. And the walls, both the pit wall and the wall on the outside, are very close. It's very easy to loop it around and destroy your car there. Luckily for him, he could keep it in a straight line. We are on board here with Tom Ratchet. You can see just pushing a little bit, missing the apex slightly. It doesn't help your exit speed there. Luckily for him, it's only a short run towards the first corner. If we go... Oh.
That didn't look as scary in the cockpit as just looking from outside. I was worried he was going into the wall on that one, but I think he had it under control. Easy, Soup. Settle down.
You can see Ryan immediately creating a gap to Jordy Fike. I would say now that Jordy Fike was holding up Ryan in the previous laps, and Ryan can now try to look forward, maybe close the gap a little bit to Enzo Kanta, that whole 6-car train that are fighting for the lead at the moment, being led by Sonny Kenshin.
Well, let's go ahead and give you that interval then from Kanta back to Walker, and it is 3.6. It's got a little farther to go than Kanta had to go. We'll see how it plays out. 6 cars up in front. Honestly, they have been holding station. That's a great shot. And we pan back. Oh, that's some good directing right there. You can see the interval between the front 6 and that back 3. That's a little bit of a wide envelope there.
Yeah, but they're staying closely together. And at this point of the race, it doesn't really... it's not really worth it to give it your all, to battle as hard as you can. You want to save a little bit of fuel. You want to make sure that you don't damage your car. You just want to stay in this group, so you draw forward and really set yourself up for a good position in the final stages of the race. Unless, however, you plan to make an early pit stop. If you're one of the drivers that wants to come in very early and drive a few laps in basically no man's land to win a little bit of speed, this is probably the point of the race that you want to make some moves forward. So when you come in for the pit stop, you do it in front of all the other rivals.
Well, I think the best action on the track is back in 11th. So let's go back and look at Ursum and Wielinga here. They're battling. Trip Smith has worked his way up from that final position. He got around Derek Holland.
Yeah, after Derek Holland had a little contact with Robert Wielinga, he lost all the momentum and that allowed Trip by. It seems like Robert Wielinga is just not feeling so hot at the moment. He was setting a good qualifying time. He was almost a second quicker than Jeroen Ursum. At this point of the race, it's just he cannot get his racing rhythm down. He is actually behind Jeroen Ursum and being put under pressure by Trip Smith as well.
Trip looking on. Boy, that's a great. You can see the 3 cars that are chasing Ursum. Wielinga, Smith, and Holland. Just to clarify, Holland, an American driver, even though my partner is. Are you from Holland? Are you close to Holland, Jeroen? Or Johan?
No, the other side of the country, which is still quite close for most Americans, probably. But the rest of these drivers are Dutch. So Jeroen Ursum and Robert Wielinga making it a Dutch fight at the moment for P11. They're just letting Trip Smith fall a little bit behind at this moment. Who's being put under pressure more and more by Derek Holland. Yeah, Derek seems quick, but he just cannot find a way past. As we see, they're side by side. Robert Wienega trying it around the outside of Quebec corner on Jeroen Heusinkveld.
Let's go to Stefan Overgaard out of Moss Corner. He was racing in 5th position. He was in the train. He made a mistake right in front of Canna. And Canna avoided it.
Oh, that's some great avoidance maneuvers from Enzo Kenta there. Okay, now, Moss Corner is one of the most difficult corners because you have to be completely on edge. And just look at the left side tires of Stefan Overgaard. He just keeps it there, brakes a little bit too late, hits slightly the grass there, the dirt, and then all the grip disappears and just loops it around. And like I said, great avoidance from Enzo Kenta to not hit him there. But that's just a little bit too hot into the corner for Stefan Overgaard, and he loses a lot of positions. He relegates from the top 5 to 10th place. He's behind Jean-Franc Pernod in last place in the pro category.
And Canton now, like Sisyphus and flip-flops, is going to have to push that boulder up the hill again. 2 seconds back of Hampson. He ran him down once. Let's see if he can run down these 4 drivers.
And the fact that Enzo Kenta has lost connection is of course not his fault. He had to step on the brake in one of the most important acceleration zones of the track, and that cost him so much momentum that he immediately loses 1-2 seconds to David Hampson. And well, the Italian has now his work cut out for him to really cut down the deficit once again.
And we're looking, there's that battle going on with Fike. You know what, with Overgaard's mistake, though, what that did do is give Jean-Franc Pignot a little bit of a friend to race with. The French driver was all by himself in 9th, but now he's got a buddy. Stefan Overgaard is going to team up with him as we see these 3 coming at you. And then you'll see in the very top of your screen, there they are. There's Overgaard and Pignot.
And actually might help Pignot quite a bit, because if Stefan Overgaard finds his way past him, he can use the draft to really find closer towards Tom Ritchie, Jordi Fike and Ryan G. Walker. So that means that it's actually really good for Jean-Franc Pernod. It doesn't matter if he gets overtaken.
Let's go to Hartley makes a mistake. This is in the S's. Now he's going to lose touch with the train, and now peeling off is David Hampson. Things are heating up front. Hartley almost put it in the wall.
David Hampson actually making a pit stop already. Choosing in to lose a lot of time and come in. We go to a replay of that instead. Just look at Robert Hartley. He hits the curb zone. Yeah, it's a third in line. He hits the curb zone on the inside a little bit too hard. Car gets extremely loose. 2 tank slappers in a row. And he actually saves it and can continue. But like we saw with Enzo Kenta a few laps ago, David Hampson has to step on the brake to avoid it and just chooses that moment to immediately come in. That's great on the feet thinking of David Hampson to immediately decide to make a pit stop there, because that just negates basically all the time that he loses, and that will help him a lot, probably even to overtake Enzo and Robert Hartley after the pit stop cycle settles down.
Absolutely. So now with the errors that are happening, now it is the 2 guys from Australia and New Zealand. That is Fittis and Kanchan up there in front. Kanchan leading Fittis. Hartley, after that little spin, or that little tank slapper, is now a 2.5 back. He's going to have a hard time staying with those 2. Good news for Kanta, though, is Enzo now probably has a chance to get to Hartley.
And you see now the whole field basically separated in small 2-3. Well, you have 1 4-car battle in the back of the field, but everything is just stretching out a little bit more and more. Good battle going on with Derek Holland at the moment. He and Trip Smith are going side by side on the end of the back straight. Let's see if Derek Holland can finally make that pass stick. He breaks a little bit later, but not late enough to swing it around Trip Smith. And that beautiful red livery, really one color, but it looks quite nice.
I love the car.
Stays in front. Yeah, it looks very, very pretty between all those other colored purple and pink colored cars. Ooh, Trip Smith goes very wide there through wide corner. Will they give an opportunity to Derek Holland? He has a very good run, immediately senses on the inside. Trip leaves the door open, and that's the moment that Derek was looking for. And he immediately wins that position. He goes back to P12.
So those 4 guys continue to shuffle, put on quite a show back there, working for that 12th position.
Oh, Jeroen Heusinkveld also goes very wide there. You could see almost crashed going over the grass there in turn 2. Stays side by side with Derek Holland. Gets that position back. Good battling here.
Yeah, no, while we were talking, Kanchan came in for a pit stop. And if I'm seeing this right, David Hampson jumped him. Now, remember, Hampson took that kind of a pit stop on the fly there as he had to take evasive action in front of him. He comes in, so now the leaders of all the cars who have pitted, David Hampson. Kanchan stopped I'm looking at the stop time. Kanchan was in there for 15.7 and Hampson for 14 flat.
Yeah, exactly. So it seems like David Hampson indeed had a shorter pit stop. Now let's see who will, of course, be right in the end of the race. David Hampson, of course, had the draft basically all race long, and that can maybe explain
right.
that short pit stop a little bit. And the good thing for him as well is that he is now together with Sonny Kanchan, who is actually trying to get by him here on the inside of the SS. They stay side by side. They are really battling. This is not him giving the position away, it seems like. But now he breaks a little bit earlier. Very wide. Sonny Kanchan really has to give it everything he's got. He gets by. He gets very loose over the grass there. That gives an opportunity to David Hampson. But David this time seems to just let Sonny Kanchan have that position. David Hampson just wants to stay behind and just draft a little bit. Enzo Kenta on the inside there. You can see him out of the pits. He also came in for a pit stop. He comes out behind the fighting tool as David Hampson takes a little look on the inside. Almost touches the grass there under braking. He stays behind Sonny Kanchan for now.
Yeah, Kanta, I think, is close enough. Only under a second behind Hampson. He has a real chance to catch up there. You know, you talked about the draft. It's really a tale of two cities there, as Kanchan spent the entire first half of the race leading, and Hampson spent the entire first half of the race behind people. So, yeah, you would expect that Sonny had to take a little more fuel.
Oh, for the lead, by the way, Robert Hartley is taking the P1 position away from Gene Fiddis now on the end of the back straight. Now let's see if one of these drivers will make a pit stop. Robert Hartley was a lot quicker last time around than the rest of the field with a 1:30.4. That was his quickest lap time of the race. I think that's actually one of the quickest lap times that we've seen this race so far. This time around, yeah, he immediately slows down quite a bit with a 1:31.0. So let's see, a 1:31.0, and let's compare that with David Hampson and Sonny Kanchan when they come over start-finish line this time around. Look at the gap, though, between Sonny Kanchan and David Hampson. David is completely losing connection with Sonny at this point.
Yeah, well, Sonny's got places to go. He is racing Robert Hartley, the pole sitter, who's on the other side of the track. Gene Fiddis, I think, smart to sit back in behind Hartley and let Hartley do the pacing.
Now alone, Sonny Kanchan only did a 1:31.8, so he lost 0.8 of a second to Robert Hartley that time around. Not only that, he lost 0.3 of a second to Gene Fiddis. Oh, Robert Hartley goes off the track. He goes a little bit too hot into Moss Corner, and he keeps it out of the wall. He can continue, but he loses valuable track time. Immediately, Gene Fiddis got by him at 0.8. He surely has lost immediately to Sonny Kanchan now.
That is not what Fiddis wanted. Fiddis wanted Hartley to stay on the track, put in some hot laps. We're going to watch this one on board of Robert's car. This is also good news for Kanchan.
Yeah, extremely good news. We can see here, this is basically the same thing that we saw with Stefan Overgaard, but and the thing is Robert Hartley made a bigger mistake than Stefan Overgaard, and in a way that actually helped him, because he was with all four tires of the track. He didn't really steer in when he didn't know that he didn't have the grip anymore, and he could just roll over and lose a second, but at least didn't spin it around. So Robert Hartley can continue. Let's look at his lap time. Yeah, he did a 1:32.9, so that's 2 seconds slower than he was the lap before. The thing that Robert Hartley has to do now is not come in, but really stay out and try to just continue winning track position, track time to Sonny Kanchan, because he has the speed. He has shown that with his 31s, his 30s. He has to stay out now and just reopen that gap again.
The Bay State Hammer, Tom Ratchey, coming in for a pit stop. He was in a battle with newcomer Ryan Walker and the Sheriff, Jordy Fike, so he comes in. We'll see how that plays out when they cycle out. Look at this battle, though, that's going on here, as Kanchan now has other things to worry about as he's got some traffic.
Yeah, and those are not like blue flag drivers in front of him. Those are drivers that he has to actually pass for position. And there's not the drivers that are alone. There's Derek Holland, Jeroen Oersen and Robert Wielinga just fighting it out at the moment for P2 in the amateur category. I think Sonny Kanchan will lose quite a bit of time, because the gap between Sonny Kanchan and these drivers is not close enough to really meet them on the back straight. I think he will meet them in the SS, and that will lose him quite a bit of time once he's there.
They have something in iRacing called the F3 box. I'm telling you, my F3 box, when I see somebody like Sonny Kanchan comes in, it seems like his name is in larger font. I don't know why. This from reputation alone, it seems to show up brighter. And here he comes now, as he's going to have to deal with Malinga, Ursum, and Holland. But this
Derek
is for position.
Exactly. Well, Derek Holland is the first one on the chopping block. Let's see what happens between the two. Sonny Kenshin, of course, has a lot of speed, but you can see in front, Jeroen Ursum is actually trying a move on Robert Wielinga as well on the outside. Sonny Kenshin gets by Derek Holland, but in front of him they're fighting. Robert Wielinga breaks a little bit earlier. Jeroen Ursum gets the position on the outside, but look at that. Sonny Kenshin has to brake quite a bit through the S's there. Once again, he has to brake. Robert Wielinga makes a pit stop, but it's at least half a second that Sonny has lost there.
Let me out of here as Holland comes in, as does Valinga.
Ooh, Sonny Kenshin. Yeah, but Hartley is going out. Jeroen Ursum was stuck was staying in front of Sonny Kenshin. Kenshin was stuck behind him in turn 1 there. Now it's the battle for the lead between Hartley and Kenshin, with Jeroen Ursum still stuck between there. Sonny Kenshin just cannot find a way past yet.
This is great. Kenshin has got to go, and now he's going to try to power around the outside, but no. Look at Jeroen Ursum fight for that position. 7th overall right now. Behind the pole sitter, Robert Hartley.
And this is, of course, the danger when you make an early pit stop. You can get stuck behind traffic, and if you cannot find your way past in the track where it's so difficult to overtake like most sports, you're really sitting with the blisters on the butt. At the moment, he still cannot find a way past, and look at David Hampson behind him and Enzo Kanta. They've completely caught up with Sonny Kenshin now in a battle for now basically P2 in the race.
Kenshin had driven away from those two guys, but now they are in the mix. Finally, Kenshin gets to the inside of Ursum. And he's going to bring Hampson with him. This is some fun racing. Yes, the field is small, but I told you it would be exciting. And look at this. Kenshin under threat now from Hampson, but he thinks better of it. Diving it in deep, getting that position is Enzo Kanta.
I mean, the Italian knew that if he didn't make that move there, he would be stuck and he would be hung out to dry like Sonny Kenshin was the lap before. Jeroen Ursum in the background goes to the pit, so he also will come out a little bit further down the field this time around. Robert Hartley has Ryan G. Walker is also in the pits, and Gene Fitters also just makes his pit stop. He's coming out and he's quite a long way
out there
himself from Robert Hartley. Yeah, it's Gene Fitters now quite comfortably in the lead, but let's see how quick the Robert Hartley Sonny Kenshin train will be able to catch up towards Gene Fitters there.
Well, just to review, remember Hartley had that spin that put him well off of Fitters. They were racing together, but he lost all that time. Then Kenshin had to deal with all that traffic. So while all that nonsense was going on, the New Zealand driver out in front was just putting in hot laps. But of course, he isn't out in front. There are still 3 cars out there. Jordy Fike is our race leader.
I just wanted to say that Jeroen Ursum goes out of the pits just behind Robert Wielinga. That's for P2 in the amateur category. Don't have to go to that, but that battle is still going on even after the pit stops. But Jordy Fike, you're absolutely correct. He is our race leader at the moment. An amateur driver in the lead who thinks, I'm not making a pit stop, I'm loving this, and he's continuing out there in the lead. What a race Jordy is having here at Motorsports.
Stay out there, Jordy. We've gone past way. Maybe if it rains, they'll call the race and you'll get the win. Jordy Fike, the sheriff, out in front. Remember Stefan Overgaard? He was in the lead train. Well, now he is in 2nd. He's left behind Jean-François Pignot back there in 3rd. They were racing together.
Yeah, so it's 3 drivers that haven't made their pit stop yet, it looked like. There's those 3 drivers that are currently in the top 3 positions. And what a race Jordy Fike is having. He's 2.1 seconds in front of Stefan Overgaard as they went over start-finish line this time around. Stefan Overgaard is a little bit quicker though, half a second per lap. And Jordy Fike as well at the moment is coming across some traffic. That's Trip Smith in front of him. And the point that he actually met Trip Smith, this will not help him. There's actually quite a bit of time that he lost there. The run down towards Moss and the whole shebang through Moss. But he got by him on the back straight.
Trip doing a real good job of getting out of the way, letting people go by.
Ooh, Sonny Kenshin almost outbraking himself through Moss corner there, but almost doing the same thing as Robert Hartley did a few laps ago. That immediately allows David Hampson and Enzo Kanta behind him to just concertina towards the Australian again. Enzo Kanta really close to the rear at the moment of David Hampson. Let's see if we see a move for virtually P4 at this point of the race. The Italian just pushing David Hampson, defending the inside there. That's probably the best thing that you can do because the outside line here can work, but it's really difficult. Enzo Kanta is trying to squeeze it in there. forcing David Hampson to stay on the inside, but he keeps it there. Beautiful from Enzo Kenta, just taking more momentum there. And he gets a P4 position behind Sonny Kenshin. He gets by David Hampson.
We talked about it. We saw Kenta work his way with no help up to the lead pack, and now he gets a little bit of a bump draft from Hampson. He wants those guys to get going. They behind Kenshin by a 0.7 of a second. Hartley beginning to run down Fittis.
Enzo Kenta is losing it. He hit the grass on the inside of turn 2 and he spins it around. Just a little bit too greedy there in turn 2. And he loops it around, and luckily for the Italian, he doesn't hit the wall, but he gets passed by Tom Recchi, Ryan G. Walker, Jordi Fike, who just made his pit stop. It's a lot of positions lost for the Italian.
Hampson had to wait and wait and wait for that car to roll off to the inside. Then he scoots around the outside. Good job of racing from David Hampson. Bad news is, though, he's going to lose touch now with Kenshin. We're going to ride on board. This one, you just got to be patient to see which way that car's going to clear.
And I think that here on the right, just Enzo Kenta's clipped the grass a little bit too much, and that just unsettled his car. Man, great avoidance maneuver from David Hampson there. That's almost NASCAR-like driving, the way he avoided that spinning Mazda in front of him. That really saved his race to not hit the Italian there. Enzo Kenta is being put under pressure by Jordi Fike at the moment, going over the back straight. Jordi Fike is really battling with a lot of names that he probably didn't expect before he came in today. Well, he's doing a great job. Cannot find his way by Enzo Kenta. This is a battle going on for P9 now, with some drivers still having to make the pit stop.
I've watched Kenta race a lot. It reminds me of watching a drunk chase a balloon near a cliff. It's entertaining, but sometimes it doesn't end well. And right now, that's what Kenta's going on, as he's sitting in 9th position ahead of Fike. Everybody did make their pit stops.
Jean-François Prenoit just came out of his pit stop. He comes out just in front of Enzo Kenta, quite a way away from Tom Recchi and Ryan Walker, who are currently fighting for P6 overall. There's one driver that still has to make a pit stop. That's Stefan Overgaard. He made his spin very early in the race, and he really wants to extend that first stint, make it a splash and dash at the end.
Yeah, that's what I want to correct myself. I looked at the timing and scoring, and sure enough, there he is up there, racing in 2nd.
But when Stefan Overgaard comes into the pits, he will concede that P1 position to Gene Fittis. And that P1 position, the furtherable P1 position, that one is under on grabs at the moment, because he's fighting with Robert Hartley. They're very close over the back straight. And Gene Fittis disappeared there for a moment on my screen.
Yeah.
But they are actually quite close at the moment. Now behind them, Sonny Kenshin seems to be just dropping away. Last time around at 31.3, Robert Hartley did a 30.9, Gene Fittis a 31.1. So Sonny Kenshin is slowly losing connection with these top 2 drivers.
Yeah, with only 9 laps of racing to go in that interval of about, almost 4 seconds between Hartley and Kenshin. That's going to be a tall order for the 3-time champion to get up there. So this could be a 2-car battle to the end. We'll watch that interval.
Jean-François Prenoit comes in for another pit stop. I think the French driver made maybe an unsafe pit exit or something like that. He has a penalty because he's coming in for a 2nd pit stop.
Overgaard is in pit lane now. He is rolling. And here comes Ryan Walker. Walker's going to get him. The Bay State Hammer is going to get him. And Overgaard cycles. Oh, no, losing it.
Tom Recchi spins.
That is Recchi.
Yeah, on the exit of Quebec corner now, he hits the wall slightly. That will not damage his car, but he had to wait quite a bit of time before Jordi Fike and Enzo Kenta could get by. Tom Recchi drops down to P9, but that's a dangerous spin. Just a little bit too much momentum. You can see it here. He has the car in front of him of Stefan Overgaard. That's not Stefan Overgaard, that's Ryan G. Walker, and he tries to take as much momentum through that corner, but just the tires, they don't have the grip anymore to really handle that speed, and they just understeer until he hit the grass and it loops him around. So that's a lot of time lost for Tom Recchi there, who drops down to P9.
And with that said, we have a new leader, as Robert Hartley did get to to Gene Fittis, make that pass, so those two continue to race or dance, depending on how you want to look at it. What we're going to do right now, and it's not going to take long, we're going to do our Trip Smith, back marker shout out. Johan, go ahead.
Yeah, we start with Trip Smith at the moment, the driver in the beautiful red car. He is driving around in P14. He had a great battle early in the race, but he's driving a little bit in no man's land at this moment. Just in front of him is Jean-François. The driver made a second pit stop. He's really falling down the order, and he has still a little bit of time left to fight his way forward. In front of them, it's 3 cars very close together. Jeroen Oersum currently sitting in P12, however. But he's fighting hard with Derek Holland in front and Robert Wieniga. This is a very exciting battle for P2 in the amateur category. In front of him, it's Tom Ratchie, who we just saw spinning from a top 7 position. He's driving around a P9 at this moment, and I think that the last driver that we should do is Jordi Fike. He's the leader in the amateur category. Not only that, he's having a great race, and he's driving around P8 overall, just behind Enzo Canta.
Can't ask for more than that from Jordi Fike, leading in your class and also led some race all by yourself. Up front, Robert Hartley. Gene Fittis trying to hang on. The interval back to Sonny Cantion, 3.7 seconds. They come across the line. There will be 7 to go.
Yeah, okay, so now let's look at the lap times. Robert Hartley, 1:38. Gene Fittis, 1:31.0. Sonny Kenshin 1:31.0. So you just said, Bill, there's like almost 4 seconds between these two drivers, and Sonny Kenshin alone without a draft buddy doesn't have the speed that Robert Hartley has, and Robert Hartley is giving to Gene Fittis. Seems like Sonny Kenshin cannot close the gap, and he will have to settle for a P3 podium position here unless something happens in that fight for the lead in the latter parts of the race.
I do worry a little bit about Gene Fittis. He races out of New Zealand, and that's a long way around the planet. Boy, he has really bad connection right now. But now he's back for me. He blinks away for a long time, and as they work through Moss, I think he's got a shot if he wants it. Again, if he wants it, to make an attack on Hartley.
I don't know how confident Gene Fittis is in the speed that he has. You know that Sonny Kenshin is behind him, and everyone knows how good Sonny Kenshin is. So you can try to battle with Robert Hartley, but if you lose 2 seconds per lap there, then Sonny Kenshin is in your rear in 2 laps time, and that's not something that you want. So maybe at this point of the race, Gene Fittis just thinks like, hey, I'm okay with that P2 position, and I'll just try it once in the last lap and see if I can get by Robert Hartley then. But for now, the New Zealander stays behind Robert Hartley.
Yeah, Fittis, a veteran of the series. He knows, he has seen Cantion do some amazing things. I think you're absolutely right. Let's just stay here and we'll decide it a little bit later. Neither one of these guys are going anywhere. Gene Fittis not going to drive away from Robert Hartley, so just step back there and follow along.
The best battle that we have on track is the one for P10. It is the one for P2 in the amateur category. Robert Wieniga, Derek Holland, Jeroen Oersum. They're actually going side by side over the back straight now. Jeroen Oersum is trying to get a podium position away in that amateur category from Derek Holland there. On the outside, he had more momentum. That's what he tried it there. But Robert Wieniga has given the draft to Derek Holland. And that helps him defend from Jeroen Oersum. And they're breaking very close there between some of the drivers. But everything stays as how it ended on the back straight.
That is fun to watch. Wieniga taking that defensive line all the way in there. Holland trying to find a way around. Now with a good run out of Whites. Let's see if he wants it.
I love to look at the Whites corner. All the cars that went wide there, it just takes all the grass away from that corner. It's only sand that you can see now, with every driver just trying to get a little bit more momentum by going wide over the curbstones. But you can see that these drivers are very close. Derek Holland is looking very lively, I have to say, that Bill. He's really looking left and right at the moment to try find a way past Robert.
Yeah, we can afford to stay on this a bit longer as they go through Quebec. Let's see, maybe Holland makes a dive down here into Moss. He has it if he wants it. He's going to wait. Now they come through here looking for a good exit. Going to duck down in. They're going to be side by side out of Moss. Not usually the way.
Yeah, behind him, Jeroen Oersum made a big mistake. He did what we saw Robert Hartley do a few laps ago, just too hot into Moss corner. He had to take a little trip over the grass. He lost, I think, 1.5 seconds in that battle to the other two drivers. But Derek Holland is putting Robert Wieniga under pressure now. He's making a move around the outside. Robert Wieniga stays on the inside the fence there. We've seen it before. Enzo Canta could do it. Can you do it as well, Derek Holland? Under braking, swings around the outside. He's a lot later than Robert Wieniga. Will those tires hold? He cuts back into the middle line. Now he has the inside and he gets past the Dutch driver. Great move from Derek Holland. Swinging it around the outside and getting that P2 position, but he struggles through White's corner there. He goes over the grass. Robert Wielinga does the same. That gives an opportunity to Jeroen Heusinkveld, who gets a P3 position. He's on the inside of turn 1 and he gets by his countryman. 4 P3 in that amateur category. That's Robert Wielinga losing 2 positions in the time span of 2 corners. Although in turn 2 it's again side by side and Robert Wielinga gets it back. He just sends it there and passes Jeroen Heusinkveld once again, while Derek Holland is enjoying this because he can drive away if these 2 Dutch drivers keep fighting like they're doing now.
Oh, this is fun. I love the small field. Ursum losing positions now. We get to watch these guys that we don't get to see often when we have a large grid. They put on a show just as exciting as the front runners. Speaking of front runners, because Fittis blinks away from me, I thought Hartley was all by himself there for a minute, but nope, Fittis hanging in.
Yeah, these drivers are still very, very close with only 4 more laps to go. Now, there's one other battle on track that's actually quite close at the moment, and that's the one between Enzo Canta and Jordi Fike at this moment. These drivers are battling for P7. But the cool thing, though, is Enzo Canta cannot drive away from Jordi Fike, and I've actually been keeping my eye on them a little bit as well. Basically, every time they come out of Moss corner, Jordi Fike is just so close, and it's almost like he doesn't want to make a move yet on Enzo Canta. He's almost holding off and waiting for really maybe the last lap or something to make that move. But he's really setting himself up, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jordi actually manages to get by Enzo in the last lap of the race. He looks quick.
Yeah, he really, really does. Jordi Fike having a good run. Canta sitting in 7th right now.
P1 is very close with Gene Fittis almost in the rear bumper of Robert Hartley. But man, I actually thought that how close he was, he would actually try and overtake. But once again, the New Zealander just opts to stay behind the driver in front. The Carolinian driver just stays in P1 for now.
So with them holding station, let's go back to 11th now and look at Wielinga and Ursum in the battles. They start to lose touch a little bit with Derek Holland. Holland has visions of driving away.
But that time through Moss, Robert Wielinga is very confident. Jeroen Heusinkveld is a little bit too confident. He goes once again over the grass, and this time it's way too much. Look at that. He loses several seconds. Great camera work with the helicopter shots, because you can really see there how quickly he lost connection. Jeroen Heusinkveld is completely seen now for that battle for the last top 10 position. But this will open up the opportunity for Robert Wielinga to try and move on Derek Holland here, Bill.
And he's got to run. He's going to try to make that pass. Meanwhile, though, with 3 to go, we'll go up front. Because now it's going to start to get serious. Robert Hartley, Gene Fittis. Fittis looking for his first career win. Hartley's got a couple under his belt so far. 5 seconds up on Sonny Kanchan. Yes, these 2 guys were faster than Sonny was all by himself. Let's see what type of line. Now this is what our director likes to call when he commentates. I think Kanchan doing a little bit of reconnaissance racing, just trying to feel out where can I make the pass on Hartley. He doesn't want to do it too soon because he doesn't want to get passed back. Where's the last place I have a chance to make the pass and then defend to the end? Is there enough time out of whites before the start-finish line? That would be a tall order.
Yeah, it's really the back straight, probably the moment where you have to make a move. But I have to say, Bill, if I was one of these drivers, I actually want track position on a track like this, because that inside line going towards the SS, that's such a great position to defend. And if you can hug it there on the inside, you have a really good opportunity to stay in front. So if I was Gene Fittis, I would try to maybe surprise Robert Hartley with a move here in Quebec corner, or maybe on the run down towards Moss, because you really want to be in front of him come that last lap.
Hartley will take that defensive line out of Moss and make Fittis go around the wide side. Now, we've seen people make it work through 8. But another thing that Hartley can keep in mind is if he's on the inside and Hartley makes a mistake and Hartley's on the outside, Fittis makes a mistake, he doesn't have to worry about Fittis getting into him. So let's see here as they play down here. I would expect Robert to stay to the right.
I would think The defense Gene Fitters is forced to go around the outside. Robert Hartley stays on the inside. You can see it. Robert is just able to brake quite a bit later. I think Gene Fitters actually braked a little bit earlier than Robert Hartley. Once again, he just stays in front with only one more opportunity, one more lap to go as they cross start finish line this time. Just a quick update, we don't have to go over it, towards it. Stefan Overgaard got P5 from Ryan G. Walker. Stefan Overgaard really closed down the last few laps, got a top 5 position, but with only one more lap to go, who will come out on top? Will it be Robert Hartley? Will it be Gene Fitters?
That is a half car length back as they go into one. Right now, Fitters on him like a fat man in a scuba suit. He is really close. They head down into Quebec. I think Fitters right now just wants to be in good position out of 5 and 6, out of Moss corner, to make that attack down into 8 and then try to play defense from that. And Johan, I think he's in pretty good shape here, assuming he can get a good drive out of Moss.
I mean, he has been trying it, I think, but I hope for Gene Fitters that he's just been waiting and he's been scoping out Robert Hartley until this point of the race, because he needs a good exit. But look at this for Moss, he's just way too wide. He tries to take more momentum and he just goes too wide, cannot really hold it there. And that's a big gap that he has to bridge to Robert Hartley to try and move in the S's.
He'll have to make a bonsai try, and Hartley's going to protect that inside. In fact, Hartley may actually swing out thinking that he's safe and get a better drive off the corner. Yeah, he can afford to move over. He doesn't have to play defense with Fitters so far back, down into 9. Fittis' last chance is to try to get a great run out of Whites, maybe hope that Hartley makes a mistake. The final corner, round number 8, the MX-5 World Tour, brought to you by Heusinkveld, is going to go to Robert Hartley. Gene Fittis gets second. Sonny Catch is going to have to settle for third. Let's go back Overgaard.
Yeah, Stefan Overgaard side by side with Ryan G. Walker. They are still side by side to the last corner, but it's Stefan Overgaard who will stay in front. He will have a good exit though, because Ryan G. Walker can try the undercut. They're going side by side over the start finish line, but it's Stefan Overgaard who stays in front. Behind them, Enzo Cantor just in front of Jordi Fike. Jordi Fike has the inside, cannot find his way past the Italian. Enzo Cantor will come home with P7. And the last real battle that we see on track, it will be the one between Robert Wieninga and Derek Holland. They were side by side, coming onto the back straight last lap. This time around the gap is a little bit further apart, but I think that Robert Wieninga will maybe have a chance as Derek Holland is defending the inside. Robert Wieninga just breaking there later. We've seen it several times. I just cannot make it stick. Derek Holland breaks later. Now we will have the inside the preferred position as well. Jeroen Husum is lurking behind them. Not close enough to try a position. Derek Holland outbreaking himself a little bit. Robert Wieninga with a better line, but not enough time to try and move there before they cross the start-finish line. Is Derek Holland with the last position in the top 10.
The French driver coming across, Jean-Frenier Pignot in 13th spot. Triff Smith finishing one lap down. That's the entire field. That's your entire race. We're going to take a short break now. Don't go far. We'll be back to talk to some of the drivers before we put a lock on the gate. You're watching the Global Sim Racing Channel. Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing Channel and the Sim Sport News Wrap-Up. Sim Sport News is one of the first dedicated sim racing news websites that covers all broadcast series on iRacing. Ran by Jacob Tufts and Gianni Kentier, the Sim Sport News race team competes in many official iRacing series, as well as the one you've just been watching. For more information, go to simsportnews.com. I've been there. It is a fun place to go. All right, let's run down the finishing order. It was exciting. Robert Hartley is going to close the gap. Remember his emoji was sideways? Well, now it's a nice smiley face as he picks up another career win, closes the gap on Sonny Ketchen, who had to finish third. Gene Fittis, try as he might, couldn't get around Hartley. He'll have to settle for second. David Hampson and Stefan Overgaard go fourth and fifth. Enzo Canna put on quite a show. He outdueled Jordy Fike for seventh position. Tom Ratchie had a spin in there somewhere. We lost a little bit of him. He had to settle for eighth position. And then, Johan, I'm going to let you talk about these guys because they put on a show starting in 10th.
Yeah, Derek Holland, he comes home P2 in the Amateur Championship, and what a fight he had with Robert Wielinga and Jeroen Heusen. That was probably the best fight that we saw all race long in the back of the field. But what a show these guys gave the Canadian supporters. Robert Wielinga came out in the middle in that battle. He comes home in P11 after starting in P11 in front of Jeroen Heusen, who won 2 positions. Jean Frappenois had to make a double pit stop that really sent him down far down the order. Only finishes in P13, and the last driver that we saw out there is Trip Smith, who finishes 1 lap down to Robert Hartley.
Okay, we're ready to hear some interviews now. We'll go ahead and get to talk to some of these people. Let's see who's going to join us in the booth first. It looks like it's going to be maybe the Italian driver. Oh, we're going to go with Enzo Canta. Yes, go ahead and bring Enzo in here. It's always fun to talk to. Enzo Canta, it's Soup here. Welcome to the MX-5 World Tour. You were running up front for a while until you made a mistake.
Hi guys, yes, I was very pleasant. I am very pleased to be here. I was invited by my big friend Marcelo Pagnan that is not here. I don't know why. And I'm very satisfied after the race. I enjoyed it. So much fun. And I was sure I wasn't able to have the same pace of the fastest guys here because they are really alien. Robert Hartley, Jean Fidesz, Sonny Ketchen, I know them very well. So, but the fact I was following Sonny after he exited the pits surprised me, and I was wishing in a good position today, but perhaps I was too much excited, and I did that rookie mistake in the turn 2. But fortunately, I didn't die over the wall, and I had a great battle till the last lap with Jordy Fike, and I had a good fun today. But I have to say congratulations to the podium because they are very, very great drivers.
I thought your most impressive job of racing was running down the lead pack when you were about maybe 2.5 seconds behind them. You left the guys you were racing with and you got them.
Yeah, thank you. I know. I was sure I wasn't able to recover the gap and entering again the draft, but I was pushing so hard, and finally, step by step, I recover the gap. So again, I'm really satisfied because I finished 7th, I think, in the first race I do in this series. But the important thing is that I could keep almost the same pace of the fastest guys in front. So I hope in the next race, without some mistakes, I will battle with the first 5 drivers on the grid.
Well, let's get Marcello in here and get a 1-2 for Italy coming up in the somewhere before the season's over.
Marcello, I'm really surprised. I was waiting for him today, and I'm sure he will come back in the next weeks. I was alone today because I needed some help from him in order to manage the pit. I don't know. I was a little bit strange, but perhaps I will call him after the race to know what happened. Surely something happened, but I hope he is well.
Welcome to the series, and thanks for putting on a good show. We'll see you down the road.
Thank you, guys. Awesome work from you, as always.
Thank you. There you have it, a great race from Enzo Canton. We've seen him race in several series, always a fan favorite here on GSRC. Johan, who you got?
Yeah, I'm here in the booth with Ryan G. Walker. Ryan, welcome. What a great race. This is, I think, the first time that we've seen you here, but man, you were consistent. I just had a look at you.
It was my first race in the NWT, and yeah, quite surprised with my pace and the result in the end, considering there's some really quick guys in the series. But to finish in P6 in my first race in the NWT series, I'm pretty happy with that.
I can imagine. Well, especially one of the things that I was, what I enjoyed the most about your driving today was the battle at the end with Stefan Overgaard. Now, unfortunately, you were just behind him for the top 5 position, but that was a really good battle. How was it from your perspective?
Yeah, that was good fun with Stefan. I loved it. Yeah, from my point of view, it's clean. He caught me really quickly, and I said to myself towards the end, if Stefan catches up to me really quickly with maybe 2 laps to go, then if he gets a run on me on the back straight, I'll let him pass and just try and stick in the draft. And yeah, heading into the last lap, I managed to get a good run on the exit on the back straight, heading to the final few corners on the last lap. And I thought if I get a run on Stefan, just try and make a move on the outside, and I just about managed to do it. But he had the inside line for the final corner, so I just thought I'll try and do a switch back and try and get him on the exit of the final corner. But he just beat me to the line. But yeah, that was a good battle with Stefan. Loved it, and I would definitely be back in the NWT for sure.
That's very good to hear. Well, if you're back, you have now experienced this race at Motorsport. Are you familiar with the MX-5? And if you are, what kind of race tracks are you really looking forward to? What are really your strong tracks?
I've got quite a bit of experience in the MX-5. I race in a couple of some other leagues with the MX-5, so I've got some experience, and I'm not the quickest of drivers, so it's kind of, I just use that plan of just try to finish races and score points, but most of all just have fun. Tracks I'm looking forward to is I've not had a chance to look at the MWT schedule, but I won't be able to make it next week. But my sort of tracks that I do like is I like the technical tracks. For example, I like Motorsports just because it's nice and technical, especially in the middle sector and the last sector. But I like any track that produces great racing in the MX-5. To be honest.
Very good. Well, it was a very good race out there, just outside the top 5, but a great P6 result nonetheless. Thanks for showing up here in the booth, Ryan, and we'll hope to see you again very soon.
Thanks, guys.
There you have it. We talked to 2 newcomers as we talked to Walker and Canton. The veterans are too smart to come here. They know they can't stand up to the hard-hitting questions of Johan and Soup. So we're going to wrap it up with that. Let's go ahead and thank the people at the Quality Racing Sim-dicate for organizing this series and contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. Thanks to Heusinkveld, it was thought that affordable simulation software and hardware was of limited value for race teams and drivers, but Heusinkveld Solutions brings professional simulation within budgetary reach of anybody, without having to compromise on realism and engineering value. Heusinkveld offers a broad array of products and services such as advanced vehicle simulation software and hardware. They're able to simulate any combination of race car and track, including full-fledged cockpit environments with realism that is unparalleled. Heusinkveld solutions are currently being used by professional race teams and drivers in Formula 4, GP3, Formula 2, and Formula 1. Now these products are available to any team and driver looking for an edge in racing. Be a better race car driver and get in touch today at Heusinkveld.com. We'd also like to thank Sim Sport News for their help in sponsoring the wrap-up show. How about the company's software and equipment that we use to make this possible? It's allows us to stream Cyberspace into your place. The original music you heard today comes courtesy of Eric Eckham and June Lalonde. See the screen to how to contact each of them. Hey, be it 14 or 40 cars, the MX-5 World Tour never fails to put on a good show. The Heusinkveld MX-5 World Tour returns for round 9 in 1 week, December 1st, from Brands Hatch. GSRC will be there to bring you all the action, along with emoji-free point standings. We hope you join us. Sliding across your screen right now are some of the upcoming broadcasts, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. If you'd like more information about GSRC, including a complete list of future broadcasts, you can find it all at globalsimracingchannel.com, or check us out on social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Also, if you haven't done so yet, become a YouTube subscriber by hitting that big red button on our YouTube page. Finally, on behalf of the entire crew, Johan, Joe, and Dougie, like to thank you all for watching as Robert Hartley picks up another career win and closes the gap to Sonny Canton. The championship is not decided. With that said, we're off to have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.